Completely different directions. D2 Hustlers are all in on the carries, Luna, PL, and Weaver. And meanwhile, for Arkosh, it's entirely about the middle lane, the Kunkka, the Shadow Fiend, the Storm Spirit. They also took the Ember out back in that first phase, so they recognize we need Canis Vulpus to have a good game, and last time around, it really didn't sort of work to his advantage, and part of that came down to the fact that he went up against that Ember in the middle lane, and I don't know if we want to say he lost the lane, but he certainly didn't win it either.
Yeah, it's like a 60-40 matchup. Of course, once runes get involved, the biggest problem I think from that early game coming from the Void Spirit is that it really felt like there was never that easy collapse onto the bottom tower where you get the bottom tower after the Void Spirit comes and then you
Ooh.
start rotating over towards mid. And Veno, that is an interesting hero to go for. Really not too much sense as of right now as to why they're rushing it. Usually when you see this Veno picked, it's to dissuade a really key initiator. Every single time we saw this Veno picked up, it was really picked versus three heroes. It was versus Tiny, it was versus Magnus, it was versus Ursa, because of course all three of those heroes have a really difficult time getting in and out of engagements, but rushing it right now, I'm really intrigued to see who actually ends up playing it because with Bane and Tusk, you'd assume that their support's already picked up, so what is usually a 5 hero might get shoved into one of those core positions now. Maybe it's a monster Veno for all we know.
Yeah, I'm very
Countered.
much interested to know where the Veno is going, because either him or the Mars is eventually going to end up mid, and now, as you were sort of alluding to, the TB just going to get picked up by Arkosh. They've got their Pale Horse hero right there, and D2 Hustlers with this lineup don't really seem to have anything that's going to really bother him all that much unless the Bane gets lucky and picks out the right TB for a Fiend's Grip.
Yeah, and it's a classic counter versus Veno. Of course, if it does end up being an offlane Veno, you gotta skill up Poison Sting. The problem is the more levels you have in Poison Sting, the more that reflection ends up biting you in the ass. And at the same time, you're picking up this Terra Blade versus Bane, which is another kind of classic old counter where, okay, now we can't Nightmare anyone anymore because we always have these mirror image or conjure image illusions running around, waking people up. So it's really intriguing for them to go to this Veno this early because it's just really simple for Arkosh to do exactly what they did. So I feel like they've got to have some larger plan at hand here because now I definitely feel like our Arkosh are kind of pulling ahead here, at least with their hero matchups.
Yeah, we'll see what D2 Hustlers have planned for presumably their carry position, but it's got to be a good one to tie this lineup together, because right now it looks like they've got sort of two or three different threads going off in different directions, and not 100% sure about the synergy, and again, not sure how they deal with the TB. But for now, the focus for D2 Hustlers is going to be on the bans. We see that Night Stalker being taken out again, just still not a hero that you really want to let into your opponent's hands, especially considering this is not a tanky lineup that they've got. Bane, Veno, Tusk, not exactly going to be able to just stand there and absorb damage, especially against someone like the Night Stalker. So that's got to go. The Earthshaker being taken out as well. Meanwhile, for Arkosh, they do ban out the Morphling. That one makes sense. The Drow ban, though, I'm not going to say it doesn't make sense. It's just not a hero that we really see a lot of attention being paid towards.
Yeah, it's definitely a hero that's sort of picked up a little bit of speed because again, post TI, a lot of Medusas still in pubs, a lot of Terrorblades, and of course, with the marksmanship, you do just peel through anyone with natural armor, so it does feel very nice in that respect. And of course, you are banning it out when you have a Void Spirit, so maybe you're saying that we acknowledge we don't really have that much jump coming naturally from our supports this game, so you don't want to have to play into that just stationary, I'm gonna do whatever I want. Okay, Yuma carry
Yuma
Magnus.
Mag.
Let's bring it back. Sure thing. And of course, he makes it look good. And the one thing that didn't get changed is that Empower. Empower from coming in from your safe lane Magnus is still going to be full force. We'll see if he gets Horn Toss. I kind of doubt it, but it'll be interesting to see. Gets first mag post TI.
The thing about the Mag, I mean, I want to see what Yuma does here. Obviously, this is not the offlane Mag that Collapse single-handedly sort of informed the world of, but the Horn Toss, it still has its use, right? It's no longer a stun. It is a 100% move speed slow, which always love when Dota does things like that, and an attack speed slow, but it does last a little bit longer. So there is still utility to be had by picking that up. It's just not going to be the death sentence that I think it was when we saw it at TI. But if you're Yuma, as you were sort of saying, the way that he plays this mag, or did play it in the past as a carry, the Horn Toss doesn't always factor into his build anyway. So, very interested to see just how they play this one out. Meanwhile, for Arkosh, the Bat Rider getting picked up. That's a hero that I think has been basically phase 1 banned in just about every game we have seen so far, but it makes it through here, and we're going to have a bit of a switch up as well. It's actually going to be the Bat Rider in Canis Vulpus's hands, which moves the Void Spirit over to Monkeys.
Yeah, it's a real shame. You pick Bat Rider and Monkeys isn't playing it. Monkeys is playing Void. Come on,
Yeah.
I'm saddened, but I guess with this pickup of the Magnus as well, it makes the Veno pick make just a little bit more sense because you want to cover your last hero here. But this is something that D2 Hustlers have gotten caught in a few times before. A lot of their playmaking potential now is going to be heavily relied upon from your Magnus. And if Yuma whiffs or if Yuma doesn't hit, of course, it's hard because Yuma usually hits. But the few times where maybe he's not getting absolutely everyone, if they can somehow make this game obnoxious enough for him or where he can't actually find those blink initiations, I've definitely seen Yuma Magnus blink in, RP, not hit too many heroes, Echo Saber twice, and then die. It's in that same vein of Tiny where once you're in, you are basically stuck. No less you're playing versus a Bat Rider where that Napalm is so obnoxious for these prolonged engagements. The biggest thing they have going for them is that D2 Hustlers have been able to pick up this Magnus where Arkosh really don't have any natural save. So again, it's kind of a who's outplaying who type of match.
Mm-hmm. It's going to come down to the execution. We always sort of say it, but it looms even larger in this instance as, oh, we are going to be getting this this one underway. First time we're seeing the Bat, first time we're seeing, I think, the TB as well. So we'll see how those heroes sort of play out for that Arkosh side. They are looking for something to change, some sort of momentum shifter. As we mentioned before, they've lost 3 straight games so far in this Pro Series, so they are trying to rally the troops, change up the strats maybe, get something going for themselves to try and put points on the board and salvage the 1-1 draw here. So we'll get this one underway. Arkosh pushing out towards the river. We saw them do a little bit of this the last time around. They were looking... Well, they were looking for less of a fight straight up and more to set a trap. We'll see if they do something similar here, but Gremlo, well, he gets a little bit too far forward. He's going to get slowed up by the Gale, pushed back there by the Rebuke, but they just don't have the damage, and now look at that. Monkeys able to get Devi caught out with the Remnant. They need a little bit more damage, and they've got it from Canis Vulpus as Devi gets taken down, so Hustlers, I mean, that looked pretty good, for them at the start. They get Gremlo sort of pushed back. I think, though... Maybe if that's a spear instead of a rebuke, you push him far enough away from his teammates where you can actually pick him off. In that instance, Gremlo knew, I've got my whole team behind me, I might as well just stand and fight.
Yeah, and really with the Nightmare also scaled up on Devi, they wanted the Nightmare into Skewer, but they have some pretty unideal level 1 spells now, and yeah, they're getting bullied off of this rune as well. I think Monster, yep, got out-clicked by Crow, so looks like 3 for Arkosh, even though they are having a little bit of a scuffle for the bottom bounty, and okay, Yuma pulls it back.
So at least they get 1. That's going to be good for them. And now the Skewer, just to get him into the river and avoid any further fighting. But if you're Arkosh, 3 out of 4 bounties in the first blood going your way. Certainly going to be useful. And now, gotta wonder, will they actually commit for a tri-lane play here? You see Gremlo and Crow are both up here. But, Monkeys down bot is not exactly a hero I think you could leave alone. So... we'll see if it's just going to be going for the kill as they do make their way in. There's going to be the cookie stun onto Monster. The Veno just has no way out. He throws out a Gale. It technically hits onto pretty much everybody, but it just doesn't really matter. And now Crow will TP away. Perfectly executed.
Yeah, that Ignite is so obnoxious. He did a really good job. Again, it's funny because Crow has these really good positional choices where he just doesn't let his presence be known until it's almost too late, and you get these cheeky kills. It was the same story in the first game. He did a really good job of really hiding his true intent, but this top lane is definitely a good one to snowball into your Terrorblade's favor. You want to try and get that level advantage over Monster, because again, as soon as that Poison Sting gets leveled up, then it's so difficult for him to actually lane. We'll probably see him try to avoid it as much as he can, but it's inevitable. You need to get Poison Sting eventually, and it's just going to be something you kind of have to deal with. But look at how much pressure is getting put on Monster. And there's nothing Flea can do for him either. Like, Flea's just going to eat damage now instead.
Mm-hmm. That's the only defensive move he has, just sort of taking the damage for his buddy. Meanwhile, down bot, Yuma and Devi able to make a play happen. Shockwave into Skewer. Classic combo, catches Crow out of position, and we just sort of said the same thing for Flea over in the other lane with Monkeys as well. There's not a whole lot he could do. Maybe a well-placed Remnant could break something up, but in that instance, there's not a whole lot of defensive capabilities for the Void Spirit. So Hustlers, they're able to get themselves on the board there, their first kill of the match, but they did give up the first two as well, so they've got a little bit of ground to make up across these first couple of minutes.
Yeah, and really, it's, again, it's the TI meta. You have Bane Magnus, you're always going to have setup, of course, before it was Nightmare into Horn Toss, but Nightmare into Skewer works just as well versus these more immobile heroes, and Snapfire isn't the fanciest 5, or fanciest 4 position. And even Yuma, he just always tries for it. He's always looking for the play.
Mm-hmm. No, you never know. I mean, plays like that, that's the kind of stuff that could catch Monkeys by surprise. You're not really seeing that coming because there wasn't any setup for it, but not going to be able to get it that time. Crow, meanwhile, got a nice snipe onto Devi Lama's Courier, so that is going to potentially keep a little bit of extra regen out of the lane for a little while, maybe, and get Crow some gold as he's thinking. Okay, he's thinking about it. They want it. They connect with the Remnant into the Cookie Stun, but Yuma is there with the Skewer. Monkeys gets pushed underneath the tower, and all of a sudden, this play is going to break up, and well, if Yuma had a little bit more mana, I think he could have gone for that kill. As it stands, though, both Monkeys and Crow are getting away on low HP. Yuma, though, pops the Mango, gets the Shockwave down. Crow still trying to get himself out. Devi, though, yeah, in there with the Brain Sap to finish the job.
Ooh, they got to be careful. But yeah, really good Skewer back. I think that Monkeys is a little bit greedy with his skill build, going for the 1-0-2. It definitely feels nice, but it feels much nicer in the mid lane, where down here, as soon as you don't have that dissimulate, then you get brought under tower. Man, can you imagine if Yuma was Marcy? Then he really would just be dead on the Void Spirit, but...
Oh, monster. 5 HP. Jesus. 5 HP at the end of that Ignite. That's... Ugh. Too risky for my taste. And he actually has no charges on this urn either, so he's completely out of regen. This is just kind of bad. He's got to wait for the Tusk to come back, and... Okay. Well-timed TP gets him in. Gonna pop a salve onto his buddy, and Monster will be okay, but that is quite literally as close as you can get to dying without actually going down. So Gremlo continuing to just sort of play this harassment game as best as he can, as Monkeys is going to jump in onto Devi with the help of Crow. So Yuma himself, not really sure how much pressure you can apply to him, but they are really trying to hit up that Bane. They've taken him down twice now in the first 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's the same story that we saw in Game 1, where they're playing on the weaker of the two. Yuma is usually going to have his teammates' bodies kind of cast out in front of him. They're always tanking for his game, and it's a role that I'm positive Devi is used to at this point. But look at how much damage that little Shredder just does so much.
That is a level 2 Shredder as well, so it's just going to sort of get in there and hurt, and Devi's already gone down twice. He's got to be so careful of that, because if he drops low enough, then you're what, Aether Remnant, Fire Snap Cookie combo away from just getting completely picked off. So has to be careful of that combo in particular. But now, no. Yuma's starting to get maybe a little bit stronger in this lane, but they are making a play. The Cookie Stun comes in. Devi is going to drop low, but the Nightmare will be deployed. Monkeys is not going to be able to help this one out, or maybe he can. Does he have anything? Oh, well, he didn't initially, but that Skewer may get him into position. The Pulse comes through. Devi will be taken down, and Yuma may have just accidentally killed his teammate, but if he can get himself 1 or 2 kills in exchange, it's going to work out. He did get the first there onto Crow, but Monkeys is able to walk away. But while all that was happening as well, Monster gets taken down in the top lane. Pale Horse is able to finish him off on the TB, so 2-for-1 trade across the map, very much in Arkosh's favor.
Yeah, and you take a look at the last it denies, and Monster, it really is just having as bad of a time as he probably should be having. It's, again, you got completely counterpicked in that phase, and unfortunately, Flea doesn't really have any recourse either. I think that's where we really are waiting for Esk to rotate out of his lane now that he has the arena. He really is the key playmaker early on for D2 Hustlers, and without him, there really isn't anything that anyone can do. And they're running at the Batrider a little bit in the mid lane, but what do you do? As soon as you go for the shards, then he flies over, and then he's out of danger as well.
Crow in a bit of a fight with Devi there in the river. Devi turns around for the Nightmare, but Esk, very wisely decides that's probably not a fight they want. I think they knew Canis Vulpus was in the area as well, so it's not a high percentage play to go after that one. And if you do make it happen, it's a kill onto Crow. It's not going to be worth a crazy amount of gold, so they will play it safe. Speaking of playing it safe, look at Yuma. starting to move into that jungle a little bit, taking some stacked camps. He's got 3 points up in the Empower, so that farming Magnus is really going to start to go to work here over the next couple of minutes in particular. And if you're Arkosh, I don't really know if you can afford to go looking for him right now. Monkeys doesn't have his level 6 yet, so he is going to have to wait for that Astral Step, and even when he has it, do you want to give up the farm you can find in the lane itself with Yuma sort of shifting away?
They're looking for Divide Bottom.
They're actually trying to jump in onto Pale Horse as well, so we've got fights on both sides. Pale Horse gets stunned up by the spear. They will take him down, and Gremlo is going to be taken out as well. Meanwhile, over on that other side of the map, Divide Llama eventually run down by Monkeys Forever and Crow. So, well, it's a good play from that duo in the bottom lane. We see them continuing to put pressure onto the Bane, but over on the other side of the map, losing that TB is going to hurt them that little bit more. And Esk, I believe that was the first arena we've seen from him in this game, and it works out perfectly.
Yep, it's also just vision placed maybe 1 or 2 steps behind. He didn't have any rune. That was just him simply walking to the top lane, being a little bit sneaky, and giving the entire mid lane over to Fleas. So Fleas getting his levels, he gets that sick rotation, and look at the stack game from D2. They're so good at it, but S is going to run into everyone.
Svolpus has the lasso if they wanted to chase that any further, but
He gave
they
up
decide
so
against it. Yeah. Well, okay. I think it's going to pay off for him, though. They give up on the kill, but they see the stacked camp, and Janus Vulpus will push in, make sure Esk is not going to be able to contest it, and well, somehow that works out in a better fashion economically, but now look at Flea. Sneaking his way over. Invis Rune will protect him. Oh, man. I mean, Gremlo's here, but they want Canis Vulpus instead, and they actually trap him up in those... well, in the Ice Shards, and yeah, since he had already used the Firefly to take the sacked camp, there's no way out. They find the kill, and now they've got a snowball onto Crow. I don't think the snowball connects, but it does move them into position, and Yuma, he's looking for it. If he could somehow get Pale Horse in an RP as well, that would be huge, but he's taking a lot of damage from that Shredder. The reflection coming in as well, so all of a sudden he's got to back off, but his teammates, well, they continue to push in the river. They caught out Gremlo. They do take him down as Esk picks up the double kill, and now everyone's just going to back away. Flea got a little low on health along with Yuma, but both of them back off. Monster's healing him up with the Urn Charge, and D2 Hustler's able to take that fight.
Yeah, and then it really is unfortunate. There was just a really good punish coming in, and Canis Vulpus was doing exactly what he wanted to do. He was turning his kind of botch smoke into trying to take some of that control away from his opponents, but that's where it is that much harder for Arkosh to actually make these plays naturally. It really is around whether or not Canis Vulpus is finding anything, and unfortunately, he's got a decently slow Boots of Travel this game. He's going to have it after this creep wave, but we're not seeing that, you know, 8-minute Boots of Travel into 15 or even earlier than that, Aether Lens just running you down. But he's going to need to be that playmaker pretty soon here, or maybe when Monkeys decides to finally rotate out of his lane with the Yules. At least Monkeys is incredibly farmed. He's only maybe another 50 gold away, and he can really start to make plays on this Void.
Yeah, he's the top net worth hero on his own side, which, well, we are seeing a little bit more of from the offlane position, but normally it's something like a Tidehunter, finding that kind of farm early as opposed to a Void. But he's going to have the Yules, he's going to have the Astral Step, so we could see him, as you said, try and make moves, be that playmaker. But now, in that bottom lane, he's going to get jumped in on. The Nightmare is down into the arena and Spear Stun combo, and Monkey's just, yeah, has absolutely no way out of that one. They even hold the Fiend's Grip on Device, so they did not need that much shorter cooldown to pop the arena instead, and I like what we're seeing here from Esk. This mid-Mars is getting so active and aggressive. I think that's something that we maybe don't see a lot of the time when this Mars ends up being played in that middle lane. He gets a little, maybe too tunnel-visioned in on his own farm, but Esk is really making moves. 5-0 to this point in the game, and he's actually looking for a Yule Scepter of his own, as Canis Vulpus is able to find the kill up in the top lane. But back in the jungle, well, they got the Fiend's Grip down onto Crow. Esk is going to find the kill. Monkey is... he Astral Steps his way forward, but he's not going to be there in time. So, 1-for-1 trade across the map. If you're Arkosh, though, you did get the core kill onto Monster, so I think they're going to feel a little bit better about that exchange.
Yeah, and it's just Esk is being very efficient with his time. It's also just the unsuspecting Bane Nightmare where you get slept, you don't think anything of it, and then the TP rotation. Esk is just so far ahead level-wise compared to anyone else. All of his spells do so much damage. Being level 10 at this stage, you just can kill pretty much anyone on the map. even Monkeys, who, again, he finished off this Yule Scepter, and he still wants to make plays, and actually gets a pretty nice, yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, missed the cookie.
Well, okay. Yules is still going to come in, though, so I think they still have this kill. Okay. All in all, still going to work out. They find the pick-off. They should be able to push for the tower here as well. It's maybe not the most clean play in the world, but
And
at this
smoke.
point, they don't care. It doesn't need to be clean. It just needs to be a kill. And, yeah, three-man smoke. It actually clipped Pale Horse there, but he's not really going to get involved. They just want to push their way for the kill. And, well, where can they go? Esk is sort of drifting away from that middle lane, so they would have to go all the way into the north side jungle. And at this point, I'm not sure they have the time for that. The smoke is sort of already starting to time out, so we'll see what they can do. They are getting up there. They do see Monster. Flame Break is
Nice.
going to push him back. And Mortimer Kiss is being deployed. They're a little bit short, though, on the range, but Monster is still in some trouble. Someone has to help him. Flea is close, but not close enough. Monkeys Forever gets in instead, hits him with the Yule, so there's no sort of defensive snowball play. And now Flea, actually in trouble himself. He's going to try and snowball over to the creep camp. And I don't know if that's going to be enough. Flame Break comes through, but it pushes him back instead of, or forward instead of back, excuse me, and he will have the time to TP himself away. So, well, a Tumbler's Toy kind of saved him. If he doesn't use that, I think the Flame Break does get the knockback, and then that TP is very unlikely to finish. But the fact remains, you do get out with Flea, but you're still losing Monster, who is just not having a fun game at this point.
Yeah, and it's a little bit strange where he was actually getting set up. It feels like you need to have some more plague wards down in front of you, because otherwise you are the one that Canis Vulpes can actually make plays on at this stage of the game. You can't really do anything versus the Mars and the Magnus. They're just simply too strong for you at this stage. But Venno is a really weak and easy target to get on top of if you can get past the wards. And of course, usually you have to smoke past the wards, but I think Monster kind of gave him a freebie there. But unfortunately, the game does continue to get more difficult, especially for Canis Vulpes. That's why he's going for the BKB immediately. He knows that he's going to need to start playing versus Esk more and more as the game prolongs. And Esk actually went for the Yules as opposed to the Blink Dagger, so we're not getting that jump just yet. I think that Blink is coming in from Yuma, and he will have it pretty soon here, but they're pretty reliant on this Yules, and okay, they're looking a lot in mid.
Spear Stun connects onto Gremlo, but, well, that was a nice start, but it looks like the sort of maneuver from Flea and Monster that would have gotten them in for the wraparound didn't quite come in time, so they're still here, but I'm not entirely sure what they're planning to do. They have a Plague Ward up top, but they don't have the vision or the detection to actually take that ward away, so they are going to be playing, I mean, under that vision. If they try for the wraparound play, it's going to get scouted out pretty much every time, so instead, they're just trying to run it up the middle here. 3 heroes in position. They've got the creep wave up. They're trying to set up some plague wards, but Arkosh are holding it. They've got the bloodlust on the tower, so this is not going to be an easy play, but look at Yuma jumping in. He's going to be able to blink his way forward. They've got the skewer down there. They don't use the RP just yet, but they won't need it. Pale Horse going to get taken down. They're able to lock him down long enough to prevent any sort of Sunder play. Now they're looking for more. They know without that Terror Blade, there's really not a whole lot for Arkosh to fight with. This Crow gonna get hit up by the spear. There's the RP from Yuma. He has no skewer though for one more second, but he is gonna be able to get the shockwave out. That sets up for the skewer, pulling Gremlo in, and now Canis Vulpes, he's here. I don't know if he wants to be. That was a little bit of a delayed reaction on his part, and by the time he does get into position, it's too late. They'll take him down. The spear. Not going to connect. Timing's a little bit off there, so Monkeys will live, but, oh, maybe not for long. Yuma tried for it. Not going to be able to connect with the skewer. At this point, yeah, they need to back off. They need to take this tower because the TPs are coming in. Arkosh are ready for round 2. And Pale Horse, I don't know if you're going to be able to kill him off again before he gets to Sunder down this time. And he's got the meta up and running, so he is going to start dishing out that damage. Esk is going to get taken down first. Monster is going to be the new target, but Devi gets in there for the Nightmare. And the illusion actually didn't remove it right away, so that should allow most of D2 Hustlers to now fall back, but they don't want to fall back, they want to go back in. They were looking for the kill on the Monkeys, and he may tick down to the DOT, and he will. Monster getting the kill with the Spirit Vessel. Now Pale Horse gonna get hit up by the Snowball. Yeah, that's the problem. They have him momentarily locked down with the Walrus Punch, but it's not enough. The Sunder goes down, and Pale Horse is gonna live, but Arkosh are getting pushed back a little bit here. Canis Vulpes, though, well, he tried for the long sort of wraparound play, but the Nightmare will put him under, and I think that's going to be pretty much the end of this fight. Arkosh really not able to get a lot going there.
Yeah, and we're still waiting for Canis Vulpus to find that entrance and find those lassos because it really felt like that TP was just not it. He just went immediately, got Spirit Vesseled, got Plague Warded, got slowed up, and as soon as he tries to go for these targets, Flea is also doing an incredible job just slowing him up with the tag team, and you don't want to be forced to lasso this Tusk. Flea wants to get lassoed. He wants to force this spell out of his opponent's hands, and Canis Vulpus isn't giving it to him, but he's not able to find his target either. I think finally, he's just going to do it just to get it. But Esk is already running around with the arena, threatening.
Base rune was coming to an end, though, so I guess he decides, it's probably not going to work out. Canis Vulpus is already in the Firefly, so we could have just flown over it, and that leaves the 2 supports as your target. So they won't go in there, but they are looking at Gremlo a little bit. They'll hit him up with the Nightmare into the Venomous Gale, and yeah, Gremlo is really not getting out of this one. He's just too damn slow. The DOT's on him, and Monster will find another pick. Do they keep going? No. They don't quite have that degree of maneuverability just yet. The Mars still not looking for anything along the lines of the Blink Dagger, so that is the only downside to this play. They've got a lot of slow, they've got a lot of sort of setup to work with, but they can't always close the gap to keep that fight going. Is this really doable? No, it is not. Hustlers are just going to back away, so I mean, Devi's looking for the plays where he can find them, but that one would have been maybe a little bit too ambitious. Speaking of ambitious, though, Canis Vulpus very far up the lane down bot. Flea is going to try to catch up to him. The snowball doesn't connect, and he doesn't want to use the shards because Firefly is still going. So he's just going to have to try and track him on foot. The shards come out now, maybe just looking for the vision. It's Canis Vulpus trying to TP away.
So close.
Maybe a half a second, and Flea would have been able to get off that Walrus Punch, but as it stands, Canis Vulpus gets away, and, well, again, we talked about it just a moment ago. They don't quite have those gap-closing measures just yet, although Monster, he just got himself a Force Staff, so that is going to at least somewhat alleviate some of those concerns, but still no Blink play out from anyone other than Yuma.
Yeah, and really the issue at large is if Arkosh can keep this game delayed and kind of just keep things going in a way where they're not kind of feeding off cooldown, then I think they can really start to stabilize a little bit, because even though they're killing Gremlo mid, the problem is they need to keep on finding these kills. D2 Hustlers need to kill their opponents another 10, 15 times to actually have a shot at going to the high ground, and it's kind of an inherent problem of having the safe lane Magnus, where Arkosh take one fight and then suddenly the game looks incredibly difficult for D2 Hustlers going forward. It's where D2 Hustlers really can't stop performing, because the second they do, they kind of lose. So even though they don't really get all that much farm bottom, if Canis Vulpus can keep making these breakaway split pushes and be successful with it, he is going to start to kind of win the game for his team. I think they're really doing a good job of hunting him down now, though. We'll see.
He has no TP for 10 seconds, though, so there's really nowhere for him to go.
And missed, but Devi got him.
There's the Fiend script down. Yuma's just going to hack away at him, and yeah, I guess the Shockwave in there. That's a nice sort of instinctive play for Canis Vulpus, trying to get away. It's just the TP timing didn't cooperate with him, so he is going to get picked off. Yuma's the one to get that kill. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, look at Flea trying to push his way forward. They're going to get in onto Crow, and there's going to be that TP from Yuma blinking in afterwards. And Crow will be taken down. I don't know if they want to go any further, though. The rest of the lineup is here, and yeah, that's maybe a bit too far forward from Flea. Did not anticipate that there were going to be that many heroes in the area, and he gets himself picked off, but honestly, that's going to be more than worth it for Hustlers. And actually, they're still looking for plays here. Esk gets the Yules into the Spear Stun, into the RP, onto the Void Spirit. They're going to be able to take him down, and now Gremlo and Pale Horse kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. You want to try and fall back to the tier 2, but Esk was sort of in a position to sort of cut off that angle, so now they're effectively trapped in the fight. Esk is going to throw down the arena. The Nightmare comes in. That lasso from Canis Vulpus, though, it does manage to pull Yuma away. The Gremlo still fell, but they're at least able to trade him out. Esk goes down as well. Yuma now dropping low. BKB is going to wear off. Canis Vulpus wants this kill. He's actually just kind of tracking it. Can Yuma somehow get away? He doesn't really have much to work with. No. Final right click comes in. Canis Vulpus gets the kill. That Nightmare does not stop the projectile that was already midair. And, well, for Arkosh, that goes much better than I thought it would, really, based on the way that fight started. They come back. They get 3 big kills onto the cores. And they basically sort of even that out. And, ET, that's kind of what you were talking about. If you're Arkosh, you really only need 1 or 2 big fights to go your way, and you start feeling much more confident.
Yeah, and it's really hesitant from Esk there. I don't think he even wanted to ulti Pale Horse. I think that he was trying to respect the respawn timers. Everyone else was really trying to fiend for a lot of those kills because, again, it is very key for them, but you don't respect the respawn timers. Sure, you're killing Gremlin mid, but I think back to that fight, it was a huge loss for them because now you really need to sit back and kind of finish off your items. Losing Yuma there is a really big problem because now, looking over at Pale Horse, working very quickly towards that Scotty, and once you get that, that is the item that breaks the carry's back. That is where suddenly this Magnus, who is blinking in and killing 2 supports, is going to die to this meta Scotty TB. And I'm glad that they're going towards Roche because it felt like they should have maybe done that 5 or 6 minutes ago because, again, they really need to fast forward the schedule of this game if you're D2 Hustlers.
Yeah, they need to make sure the TB can't get into that sort of massive late game scenario. So, going to be able to take Roshan. Scan comes through, though, from Arkosh, so they know this is happening, but they're not going to do anything about it. They just confirm that it's going down, and, well, Yuma, there we go. Made the space for it, picks up the Aegis, but over on the other side, that is an Aghanim Scepter picked up by Monkeys. So all of a sudden, this Resonant Pulse gets a little bit more interesting with that added silence. That could break up maybe some of the combo plays from D2 Hustlers. So they're going to have to be very much aware of where that Void Spirit is in these next fights, because, I mean, if Yuma blinks in, gets silenced maybe before the RP, if the Bane gets hit up by it when he's trying for a Fiend's Grip play, then a lot of Hustlers' sort of lockdown combo could go away, as Yuma... Oh, already trying to run into the fight. They get the grip onto Monkeys, though, so that Resonant Pulse really not going to be much of a factor because he can never get it out. This Monkeys Forever will fall, and now Gremlo, he should be dying here as well, trying to make a run for it, but Esk going to be able to bring him down. Double kill for your Mars, and a nice fight off the back of the Roche attempt for Hustlers.
Yeah, they just catch a few too many heroes in the bad position. Fortunately, that's not your TB that's dying. You are still able to get out, but it's also the problem that really no one is able to answer. Oh, they RP top.
RP onto Canis Vulpus into the Snowball with the Walrus Punch, just keeping him locked down constantly. And, well, they're going to keep it going. They know they need that pressure pretty consistently against their opponents. Now it opens up maybe a path to go for... maybe not a massive push, seeing as how the creep wave's all the way back at the tower, but they have a little bit more room to operate here in that north side jungle, and the most important aspect is you are taking that farm away from Pale Horse. He's still operating in his east side jungle, but just try to shrink the map for him, basically, is all you can afford to do right now. But I think he just finished the Scotty. Yeah. So that is up and running. Pale Horse is now a very dangerous hero.
Yep, and I think I heard a Spear Connect over on a Conjure Image Illusion, but without RP, I don't think they should feel confident in this fight. And actually, oh, you didn't pop BKB on Esk.
Esk is going to get hit up, and there's going to be the BKB out now, but at this point it feels like it's just too late. He's going to pop the arena defensively, but while he's walking away, you see Monster getting hit up as well. Flea has to come in with the Snowball into the Walrus Punch. That does allow them to take Monkeys Forever down, but they're still on the retreat here. They've lost Divine Llama. Esk was at least able to get away, so they do get the cores out of there, but Monster is still sort of being eyed up here, but now Yuma TPing in. Can he get the skewer? Yes, he can. Monster, though, still dies to the DOT, so they're not able to save their buddy, and now Yuma, he's going to get hit by the lasso. They're pulling him back in. Pale Horse, look at that damage. Just absolutely tearing through him, and now there's no RP for the Mag, and there's really no one here to help him. Fleet could try. Okay, he could help himself. Look at that skewer coming in. Gremlo pulled all the way back under the tier 2. And that may be enough to get them out. They're trying to push forward with Canis Vulpus, but he's going to get hit by another Walrus Punch, puts him up in the air. Yuma wants the skewer, but Canis Vulpus very wisely pops the BKB instead. And if you're Hustlers, at this point, I think it's just time to sort of cut your losses. You did lose a couple of heroes, but you got Esk and Yuma out of there. Don't really try to push it any further, but Divai, okay. TP's in, Nightmare on one, Fiend's Grip on another, but they need the help. Flea and Esk are coming in, not very quickly though, so they're going to just collapse onto Crow, but that means Pale Horse is going to try to walk away. The Snowball is not going to connect, but the Shards do come through. The Yule Scepter will be deployed as well, but they need the lockdown to prevent this Thunder from coming through. They do have the Spear Stun there. Yuma now comes in, RP connecting onto 2, and they've got Pale Horse. They'll get Monkeys as well. And ET, that felt like the most sort of scrambled, desperate play I've ever seen, but it works out perfectly. Divai, with absolutely no fear, just TPing onto the outpost to start that.
Yep, Yuma finds a way, and it would have gone even more one-sided if Monkeys Forever wasn't able to rejoin with his teammates. He actually didn't TP too far away, but yeah, all across the map.
They're just going at Arkosh anytime they see them. Esk and Flea able to push in there. Canis Vulpus, he really has just kind of dropped off the face of the earth here. We did see that nice lasso play from him in that previous fight onto Yuma, but well, they didn't actually find the kill in that scenario. So he really is not having the contributions that he needs right now as mid. Yeah, Gremlo, a little bit too far forward, out in no man's land there, and D2 Hustlers, you mentioned this earlier, ET, that they needed to sort of continuously put this pressure on. There was a little bit of a break there as they sort of botched one of those fights, but they don't really let that get to them. The second that they're back up, they regroup and they're just pushing in again.
Yep, and very importantly, Esk finally got his Blank Dagger. I was really surprised to not see him go for it earlier, but now you have your secondary playmaker. You have 3 playmakers actually now because Flea was just able to finish his. He is so rich on this Tusk as of right now. He has just done a really good job, and that's where the pressure, I think, is really going to start to weigh on the Arkosh members because once only the Conjure Image Illusions can make it out of the base.
Oh, crap, you
got to.
That is one hell of a play. Just jump straight in, skewers both Monkeys and Gremlo out. They're only going to be able to finish Gremlo, but
they need more.
Esk, BKB is going to keep him safe for now. Look at that Bulwark just slowly backing out. Monster preemptively popping that Nova, just trying to make sure Arkosh are not going to be able to just charge forward as quickly as they want, but they are still going. That is some cast range there with that Aether Lens. He's able to connect with the lasso, and now Devi, well, sacrificial play. Goes in for the Fiend's Grip and the Nightmare, not really going to be enough, but they actually haven't gotten Yuma out there. That Sunder just ruined any hope that Yuma had of getting out. Swap the HP bars, Yuma taken down right away, and to be honest, I'm a little sort of weirded out by the fact that the mag sort of stuck around. Yeah, you got the Blink RP, but that really did feel like a play where you lost Monster and Devi is going to stay behind specifically to make sure that the rest of you get out, and instead, Yuma sticks around too long, and now, well, Esk can find the pickup, but now Esk has to get away. Defensive Arena, going to be thrown down. He's looking for the TP on the high ground. He will be able to get himself out of there, so that one ends up paying off for them. They stick around, they find a quick pick onto Crow, and then they get out, but still got to be careful. If the TB is not sort of locked down in these fights, we see what can happen. Pale Horse just gets directly onto Yuma, and that is a fight that TB is going to win the vast majority of the time as Flea. Getting slowed up a little bit here. Flame Break coming through as well for the knockback. Esk is going to try to blink his way forward, but he actually blinked into the Remnant. That is unfortunate. Esk is now going to go down. That Eul Scepter will only delay his death here. There we go. As Canis Vulpus takes him down, that just...
Rest easy, child. Rest easy, child.
I mean, it sounds simple, because it kind of is. If he BKBs before he blinks in, then that just doesn't happen. And maybe he can make some sort of play work there. Instead, the Remnant sort of catches him out, and Esk ends up dying right alongside his teammate.
Yeah, and it's really important now because this was a really bad minute for D2 Hustlers. Pale Horse is working incredibly quickly towards his Daedalus, and once he has it, you've got quite the brig problem on your hand, as well as some messy item management going on right now. Everybody's... Carry players who don't sell their small items. That's what this is right here. Disassembled. He made a Wraithband randomly. Disassembled the Dragonlance. Something was going on there, but the problem is now you have a Daedalus and 1,000 gold coming in for Pale Horse, and once that's up, Yuma needs to be so incredibly careful because you don't win that fight versus the TB. Even if you're Satanic, you are just going to get chunked. Your item is not that good once that Scotty debuff is already on you, and I think that's where the big thing we've been missing from D2 Hustlers has been those really big arenas coming through. They've been kind of rushed. They've been really in a defensive position for a lot of the times because they're so scared of this meta TB. And even though D2 Hustlers have done a really good job of finding these kills across the map, it's not the TB and it's not in that meta downtime. Oh, unfortunately that smoke, you guys are still smoked.
Oops. Oh well. Crow actually did commit the Mortimer Kisses there, so that is a bit of a bummer. Outside of that, though, it's really just popping the smoke play. But, they're still okay. Daedalus has now been picked up on the TB, so Pale Horse is just going to tear his way through absolutely anyone that's put in front of him. And as you said, now, if you're D2 Hustlers, you have to have the lockdown. If you do not get onto that Terrorblade, if you can't hit him up with the Arena or the Spear, the RP, something along those lines, there is no fight. You're just going to get absolutely annihilated by that Terrorblade. So they have to be focusing on him anytime you want to go in, or if you're looking for a fight, you have to basically guarantee yourself that Pale Horse isn't there to contribute. But at this point in the game, that feels unlikely as they jump in for the lasso play onto Monster. That is a very quick pick off, and Monster he doesn't have money for buyback, so he is down. And now if you're D2 Hustlers, this might just be the call for them to maybe play the waiting game.
Yeah, I think might even end up giving up a few of these towers. They don't want to take that top tower first. If you're Arkosh, you want to push into mid, but they're respecting their opponents here. They know that the closer you get to D2 Hustler's base, the more likely Yuma is to finally catch you, but this is a lot of time in really the perfect position to be in whenever Roche is respawning. Dire are marched up on the Radiant Triangle. They're not going to give up this high ground unless D2 Hustlers have the confidence to smoke into that territory, and that's going to be so important in 13 seconds whenever this Roche is on the table, because I feel like they're just going to start it, and that's when this could get really messy from D2 Hustlers, and without an Aegis on their side, I, again, don't think there's a way for them to break the high ground.
Well, you now see them pushing onto their opponent's side of the river here. Now they'll go for the smoke and maybe try to double back. And Monster is back up. He's going to try to link up with his teammates. And if they can get some sort of pincer maneuver here, maybe they have a play. But again, what we were talking about before. Where's the Terrorblade? You have to account for his position if you really want to make this happen. What can they do? They're going to jump into the river. They do have eyes on monkeys, but they need the lockdown. There it is. They get the spear stun in there, and oh, they're going to get more. Gremlo gets his TP canceled. Dual Scepter comes in. Gremlo will be taken down, and that's exactly what they needed. Esk picks up both of those kills, and those are the plays they need to make. They know Pale Horse isn't there. They know Canis Vulpus won't be able to throw out the lasso to defend his buddies, so they make the move, they find the kills, and now they're the team going into the Roche Pit, and Arkosh, they TP'd a couple heroes away, so they're not exactly going to be able to contest this, but they are looking for a kill onto Flea. The Mortimer Kisses are going to be enough for the kill, but now Yuma comes in. RP dropped into the arena. Spear stun. Canis Vulpus is trapped inside. They'll take him down, and now they're going to be able to cancel Crow's TP as well. The Snapfire has nowhere left to go. And he's going to dish out a little bit of damage while he can, but Esk is able to pick up another double kill. This Mars just racking up the kills, 19 and 3. And now this Roche is absolutely uncontested. Pale Horse the only man alive, and he is not going to rush over there.
What do you do if you're Pale Horse? Of course, he doesn't know that he's underneath vision right now, but that was a good distraction play at the very least. It pulled Yuma out of the pit, but unfortunately, I think this is just going to be Aegis. And now the path hasn't gotten really any easier for D2 Hustlers. They still need to do the same thing to actually win out this game, but Arkosh have definitely lost their easy time for the next 5 to 10 minutes. I think that's when D2 Hustlers are really going to strike hard. Got some big items coming out as well. Got the overwhelming blink on the table. You've got a full Daedalus going to be built up by the Magnus, and that's where Pale Horse still not really playing around with his buyback either. He's going to have a Satanic pretty soon, but again, it's where you have this Aegis to play around with that you're going to feel that much more confident to go for those crazy plays. And every member of Arkosh, aside from that Terrorblade, is still proven to be very, very weak.
And Yuma, he's actually switching it up a little bit here. We saw that Chrysalis picked up for him. He's actually going to try for the Silver Edge play instead. So, well, maybe more sort of burst-oriented as opposed to just the more sustained damage from the Daedalus, but if you are making the jump in, if you've got the Spear Stun, if you've got sort of the RP play, then to a certain extent I could see the Silver Edge maybe working out a little bit better for you, just trying to burst through someone like Canis Vulpus or Pale Horse in particular. Kill him before he has the chance to get the Sunder within the duration of whatever sort of lockdown you have onto him. But it is going to be interesting to see. Pale Horse, meanwhile, he got himself that Satanic on the TB, so it is even more important now if you're D2 Hustlers to take him down in sort of one singular combo. If you can't, he's got the Sunder, he's got a Satanic, and gradually sort of chunking him down just is no longer an option.
You got to be so careful, and they're doing a good job. It's the biggest benefit of Terrorblade is you literally just send the illusions absolutely everywhere. It's always occupying at least 2 of the lanes, but well, that's where the only thing I'm really scared of for Arkosh is when D2 Hustlers inevitably come knocking, they're going to look to drag you out of your base. They're not going to look for that clean engagement. They're always going to try and get that pick off before the fighting actually starts. But to Arkosh's, give them a little bit of credit here. They're doing a really good job of split pushing here. The pressure is ahead. They're ahead of the exchange right now. So yeah, D2 Hustlers have to come back all the way.
They bring Divide back, they TP Yuma back. I believe, yeah, Esk made his way back here as well. So they've got to mount a response. That tier 3 tower just keeps on taking the damage. So, well, they bring back most of the lineup. They do still have Flea and Monster kind of hanging out here, but Not really sure what they could do other than maybe finding pickoffs onto supports at this stage with just the two of them, but at least you have Monster continuing to farm here. That is going to be important. That Veno still the lowest net worth core in the match, so you want to get him going a little bit more. I think he just finished off the... yeah, he just got the disc finished off, so he is going to have a little bit more defensive capabilities. Yuma, meanwhile, just skewered an illusion. That is unfortunate. Pale Horse really not caring too much about that one, but at least Yuma's not going to get punished for that. He skewers so far away, no one from Arkosh was really looking to go in to punish it.
And look at how dangerous this high ground is. They don't want to go for that push-in. And they pop their glyph as well, so now D2 Hustlers can't play around with their base defenses anymore. They don't have that buffer. They always need to back up now. And of course, they do know about the meta. Even picked up the Ag Shard on the Terrorblade, so he's got the Demon Zeal. I guess, see if that plays any role in this game. But now meta is down for 110 seconds. They're going to get aggressive, and that's exactly what they're doing here. But if Arkosh want, they could still just occupy this top lane and put the pressure on. Again, no glyph. The stakes are pretty much as high as they could be for both teams right now.
Gremlo?
Oh, Gremlo.
Well, they spot him, but they're not immediately able to get onto him. There we go. They will make the move now. So Gremlo is going to get picked off here, but I mean, that is a solid death. You buy time. Arkosh are continuing to push things out. You see Canis Vulpus getting the creep wave as well as the illusions up there, but yeah, Crow's going to get jumped in on as well. They hit him with the feed script into the Spear Sun, into the Walrus Punch. Lee will find the kill.
Oh, Canis Vulpus might have. RP?
Well, that's time to back up now if you're D2 Hustlers. If that RP connects, then they have almost a surefire kill on Canis Vulpus. As it stands now, they're actually still looking for him, but I don't really know how well this is going to work out for them, and that... If that RP hits, I mean, we're talking about potentially a different game here, ET, but they're not able to get it, and now they've got to be careful. The Aegis is starting to time out. They've got about, what, 15 seconds left on the timer, so do you continue to play to this aggressive level without the benefit of that second life on your Magnus? It's going to be a tough call to make. Does Yuma have money for buyback? No, he does not. He's about 500 gold short, so I don't know. Going to get insanely risky for them to try and make these moves, but I'm not sure that they can afford not to, right? If they just sit back in their base and they let Arkosh retake control of the map, then they're going to be in a pretty tough situation either way.
Yeah, and really, it is only getting more difficult, and I think that's where Arkosh did a really good job of identifying that the only way we win this game is if we stay in the game, and that's where all of these creep waves, there are several times now where D2 Hustlers are smoking past their lanes, not able to defend the creeps. Yeah, has to BKB it. That's huge.
Good Nightmare there onto Pale Horse, though. That's going to break up the fight initially, but it looks like they are still in some trouble. Monster is basically forced into the fight. He pops the ult. That's really not going to matter. Monster falls. Divide dead as well. And Monster does not have his buyback right now. The Bane can get back in, and he does have the Fiend's Grip, so that could sort of play a large role for D2 Hustlers, but no matter what, they're going to be down a man as they have to put together some sort of high ground defense right now. They're just...
Watch the skewer.
Pale Horse.
Oh, that's brutal. The Aether Remnant covers him completely. He's going to need to place another one now, but everything is going to be on Esk now.
Very nicely. Oh god, very nicely done. They will blink their way forward. That gets them onto Canis Vulpus, but the BKB will be popped. They do still get the Spear Stun down, but now Yuma, he has to wait. The RP was only 3 seconds away. They jumped the gun. And this is not going to go well for them. Flea has been taken down, but Canis Vulpus got hit up there by that Fiend's Grip, so Esk is able to push in for the kill, but Esk is now going to get taken down. There's the RP, though, from Yuma, connecting onto everyone. Where's the damage? They need to be able to get more kills. They haven't been able to do so just yet, but now Esk buying back, blinking forward. Overwhelming Blink is in there for that sort of slowdown as they are trying to keep this fight going, but Pale Horse is still fighting up. They were not able to deal with the TB. He heals with the Satanic. Buybacks flying out from every single side. And it looks like at this point, D2 Hustlers, they have run out of really gas in the tank right now. Yuma's going to have to try to get away. He'll pop his own BKB, now actually turning around looking for the kill, but as soon as Pale Horse gets back into the fight, Yuma has to desperately try and get out of here. Flea's now coming in, but the silence is going to prevent him from making that snowball play happen. All 3 heroes will fall. There is a buyback out from Yuma, but at this point, it feels like it's too late. It's just him and Monster against the world, and they don't have an RP.
Oh no. And that's it. That's most likely just going to be Megas. Of course, they still have to get through the tier 4 towers, but What a huge opening. That was so well played from Arkosh, just kiting everything out of their opponents, and the supports have to buy back there. They didn't have vision. They were going to get eviscerated by this Glimmer Cape, but they do it. They get back in the fight somehow, just kind of on the brink there, and then they actually are just going to Megas their opponents to no rebuttal. They're going for the safe play by just not trying to end. They're definitely fearing Yuma skewering them into the fountain, but we'll see. Parahorse, he's just going for it now.
Yeah, they decided at this point, why not? Why not go in? Any buybacks that were there had already been used, so they are going to look for the win. The glyph is going to slow them down a bit, but you have to buy 40 seconds worth of time, and okay. Arkosh actually now backing away, looking for the Mega Creeps after all. I don't think they need to be doing this, but they would rather sort of play it a bit more thoroughly, and I think a combination of the exact position they're in this game right now, combined with the fact that they are 0-3 in the standings, means they would rather sort of take the slower and steadier approach and really make sure there's no room for them to sort of throw this lead. So they're just going to push their way in now. Monster trying to make something happen. They're desperately hoping. Yuma goes in as well, but no skewer connection. RP's up in 5, so maybe they can try for something, but again, they've got to kill Pale Horse. If they don't get the TB, then none of this is going to matter, as the RP actually didn't get used. He got stunned up first. And that should pretty much be the end of it. Yuma's going to go down. S does drop the arena, but the Ancient has been exposed here. And Arkosh are just going to go for a few extra kills. They honestly could probably just kill the Ancient and be done with it, but Pale Horse would rather get a few more in the sort of stat column there, and that's it. GG will be called. They managed to close it out. D2 Hustlers, I mean, give them credit, right? They don't call the GG that early. They were thinking maybe something can happen, but at that point, they just really didn't have enough. They could not deal with the TB at the end of the day. They had to bring him down, and they just weren't able to do so.
Yeah, and I'm looking at win probability. Man, they had the advantage for such a large amount of time. It felt like really there was no one who was able to do anything on Arkosh for so long. They were just throwing their bodies at the waves, trying to make as much space as they possibly could. But really, it was the first misstep top where Yuma gets dead. He gets killed for the first time in a very long time. And after that, you suddenly have a full Scotty finished up on Pale Horse. I think after his second death, he bought a full Crystallis. It was just the simple fact that Arkosh stopped losing convincingly. And even though, again, it was bodies thrown down in front of Pale Horse's gain, he got to a point where suddenly no one can stand in front of him, no one can do anything. And in the same vein of TB versus Tiny, TB versus Magnus Carry, once you're in, you are trapped by that Scotty, and there is nothing you can do, nothing to get away. As well as just inherently, this was never going to be a good draft versus the TB. I think in the position they picked it in was absolutely perfect. He won the game for them, basically.
Yeah, they were just able to sort of ride the momentum from Pale Horse, and it's actually, honestly, it's a bit of a shame looking at the D2 Hustler side. Obviously, if you're Arkosh, you are happy with this win more than anything else, but you look at the stats here, Esk had one of the, at least statistically, best games on a mid-Mars that I have seen in quite some time, 22, 5, and 10, so we were talking about how active he was, how aggressively he was playing, how well he was sort of setting up for some of those kills, but at the end of the day, those pickoffs never came against really the right targets. They were bullying the supports, they were bullying Canis Vulpus, but Pale Horse just kept on farming, and late game TB, right? At a certain point, you have to deal with him, and D2 Hustlers just could not keep him at arm's length.
Yeah, and just the one or two times where, again, D2 Hustlers, they were still having those same ideas where we need to find heroes, we need to kill heroes, we need to get anyone, but Arkosh identified kill their waves, kill any idea that they're going to push our high ground. We already know that we've been dead before and they haven't taken our buildings. And I think that was the one hole in D2 Hustlers draft. They had no one who could help the push. They were good at Roche, they were good at killing, they were fantastic at team fight, but they weren't able to actually get onto that high ground and capitalize off of the gameplay that they were fostering for all of 30 minutes where they were at their peak. And then that's where Arkosh's lineup, it's so crazy, stupid, simple that it just works once they get one or two convincing team fight wins.
So, well, we said Arkosh needed to sort of make some changes. They certainly do, and it works out for them. Their first victory of the group stage here as they get their first points on the board. D2 Hustlers, meanwhile, begin their campaign with a 1-1 draw here. So, at the end of the day, both teams are going to be happy. Come away with points. Obviously, if you're D2 Hustlers, you would have preferred that 2-0 sweep, but at least they have the 1 point going for them. With that, Excuse me. With that, we are done with our first series of the day here. We are going to be moving on to our next best of two. We're getting a little bit of South American action going here. It's going to be Thunder Predator. They will be facing off against Four Zoomers. So a matchup of currently undefeated teams going to be coming up next. So we will be stepping away for a moment. Gonna take a short break as we get those two teams into the lobby and ready to go, but it'll be Thunder Predator versus Four Zoomers coming up in about 5 to 10 minutes. So stick around and we'll be right back.